Sometimes it felt that way.
School.
Now, interesting remembrance that I have is you mentioned that first music hall perform. I don't remember that at all. It's just a blur. But I do remember, of course, The Answer, which was pure joy.
I don't think y'all understood what you were doing and the importance of it, but that place was full, and it had all of the
and you all were very good.
important business and industry people in Houston.
Oh, we rocked.
Yeah, you were good. The group was good. Mr. Trongoni had good musicians.
Yeah.
Now,
he made you good.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that show, it had everything. It had drama skits in it. It had musical comedy in it.
Yeah.
It had absolute music performances. So many different ensembles kind of reconfiguring either on stage or in the pit. It was an amazing technical achievement. I hope representative of Denny's Demons going back to Omar.
It was. We had good kids working on our shows.
Absolutely.
Now, we had a particular opportunity, that is those of us coming in as 10th graders, in that we got to be seniors for 3 years.
Yeah.
Which made us intolerable prima donnas.
Tell me.
Yeah.
However, I got along pretty well with that group. It didn't bother me too much.
Well, they certainly loved you, but we also did not take things for granted. There was a kind of tacit understanding amongst the students, and I remember this very clearly from the 10th grade. If we screwed up, we'd find ourselves back at our zoned high school.
Trouble. Yeah, I think I threatened.
And it wasn't like an armed camp, but it was like occasionally there would be an early morning assembly, and we were given the wrath of Denney.
Yeah, I did. Because I
remember that.
I got disgusted a couple of times. I think about things like smoking and stuff like that, and getting to school on time. The black students that came from across town, and we didn't have any transportation then.
No lunchroom.
You just had to
no transportation.
Play it by ear. And they'd be late, and they'd drag in whenever they wanted to. And also, I'd get disgusted with Mrs. What's her name, Dean, the math teacher? You know.
Not Dorothy Leach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because she'd sell stuff out of her room to the kids in school, and I asked her not to, and she said, "Oh, okay, I'll stop." Well, she forgot that my office windows looked right out on her room. And I'd see kids going in there and coming out with a handful of donuts. And I got discouraged on a couple things, but not really bad. I never did give up on the school. I knew that we had to straighten you out, though, because sometimes you all got big for your britches, you know?
Well, exactly, and...
Well, why wouldn't you?
Students
Everybody
that
told
age...
you how good you were, and every place you'd go to play, people would rave about it.
Standing ovation.
And pretty soon we began to believe our publicity.
Yeah, and all those business people, they just thought y'all hung the moon. You're the greatest.
Well, Ruth, one thing...
You believed them.
One thing's for sure. Whenever the wrath of Denney came down, it would then metamorphosize into inspiration and motivation.
I think so.
You never left us on a down.
We were very fortunate in those days.
Now, let's talk about some of the other heads of the original founding departments.
Good.
Of course, Annette Wagersbach in art. There was, who was actually the head of the drama department?
Leila Blunt.
No, she came later.
She wasn't there. She came later.
Frank Rice.
Was it Frank?
Frank was the first drama head.
Now, that's interesting, because I always looked at him as a technician.
Well, that's what he was.
That's what he was.
And, of course, Ruth, you probably in your heart of hearts would have preferred to do that yourself.
I wanted to be running the drama department. I wanted to be in charge of it. I didn't want to run the school. But I didn't have any choice. They said, you'll run it or else. They were going to give it to Mr. What was that man that was across the street at San Jacinto?
Oh, God.
Ken Muller.
Mr. Muller. They said, well, we'll just give it to Mr. Muller then if you don't want it. And I said, no, I'll take it. I'll keep it.
That was quite a sacrifice, but
yes,
we sure appreciate you doing it. And we should also mention at this juncture that Ruth, because of your history and your experience, They couldn't make you the principal. They
I
made
didn't
you.
have enough hours and the right things.
They made you the director.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to be.
And I recall director written in large, beautiful artistic script outside your office,
I know.
as adorned the halls of every department, be it math and all of the art areas. Whose idea was that?
Oh, I don't know. The kids wanted to paint the building. In the summer, they painted it and put our names on everything. And then
And Annette Wallace,
we had a few good teachers, like,
especially Annette.
who was that good one in English that came from Bel Air, too?
You're talking about Shirley Wiley,
Yeah, she was one of the best English teachers we ever had.
the best I ever saw.
Well, the best in Houston.
Now,
And we had good people in the math department. We had good teachers because they wanted to teach there. I remember Bertia Churchwell. Do you remember her? Biology.
who could forget the originator of the art correlation?
Yes, ma'am.
I remember one day, Mark, coming out into the corridor out there, and she had her kids doing dance and music to As the Stomach Turns. That was the name of it. They had written music about all the parts of the body, but they called it As the Stomach Turns. She was wonderful.
She was a pill, too, sometimes. Well, let's not put this...
I didn't have any problem with it because
no.
I wasn't the director.
She was and I hope still is, a very dedicated, very strong person.
She was a good teacher. She was a good teacher.
She really was.
Now, let me see. There was Ed Trongoni in music. There was it Mary Martha Lappy originally in dance?
Dance.
Well, it was Bill
Bill Chason.
that started, but I went after Mary Martha, and I couldn't get her on the phone. She never would return my calls, or when she would, I wasn't there. So I just said to Louise, I'm going to go out to the University of Houston and talk to Mary Martha Lappy, because everybody says she should be at the school, and I'm going to get her.
She was in the PE department.
So I went out to U of H, and she said she was getting tired of their changing all the dance programs that she was in charge of into PE stuff, and she would gladly come to HSPVA. So I hired her, and she became the head of the art department, the dance department. Mm-hmm. And she really made it good. That dance department is still one of the best in the country.
I think she saw to that, and of course continues on to this day in
doing all that other stuff.
Economic development for the school.
Yeah.
A magnificent job.
Oh, God, yes.
Of course, Gene Nipper was the head of industrial media technology.
Yes.
And we're forgetting about vocal music, and that was Jean Galloway, was it not?
Oh, yes.
We had several music teachers. Jean Galloway cried all the time when she didn't get her own way. I remember that. I thought, knock it off, kid, get with it. But then, what was that little girl that came in? Gigi or something like that. In music, you know, Mark.
Gigi.
No, but that's not her name. That's close, though.
What did she play? Instrumental music?
No, she taught music.
Vocal.
Oh,
Yeah.
was her last name. That was later.
She was good.
Yeah, definitely.
But then she had a little affair with that colored boy, remember, that was such a good singer, and he wrote music about her.
That news was suppressed.
Yeah.
There was a Ministry of Information.
As much as possible.
And, of course, who could get over Shea Tinero and Tyra?
Oh, yes.
Oh, they were wonderful.
Big time.
And, how could you deal with that and not appear to be a racist?
I don't know. It didn't
It didn't bother me, and it didn't bother Ruth.
Well, see, remember, I came from Ohio, and there wasn't any race business there. And when I was teaching at Lamar, I remember I got in trouble because I invited Yates drama department to come to one of our rehearsals, and you weren't allowed to do that sort of thing, and they just really got all over me. And so I didn't have any problem with racists, myself. So we kept our kids probably as...
I think they just didn't even notice.
They didn't. they didn't. You play your instrument well, and you play it well, or you don't play it well. It doesn't matter what color you are.
Oh, yeah, you were there by merit and no other.
Absolutely.
And you had to perform academically or you were gone.
I remembered we had that first art. Oh, I know who we had teach drama. It was that pretty lady.
Linda Schuler.
Yeah, and she never got the show on the road that whole first year. She just kept putting it off and putting it off. And finally, I got tired of her putting it off.
Now,
We got around to doing something. And then I hired Nancy.
Leela.
Well, yeah, Leela, but Nancy, what's her name, that did the musical stuff? Taylor. And we kind of got things done.